everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to our roadmap to 2025. We lost CC. CC was in here. I'm sure he'll come back. There he is.
Yep.
Hey, what's up, CC?
Hey, CC.
Hi, Big Bear. You all right there, Metal?
Hey, guys. So, welcome, everybody. What's that? I got distracted by a sound. So, welcome. We're here to chat about our roadmap. This is a draft because as we're going forward through this process, through the DAO votes, a lot of this is going to change. We're going to, these are the topics and the steps that we're going to take as we move forward. The DAO vote right now is still live, so there's still time to vote on the current vote, which is whether or not to stay on Polygon or migrate to a new chain. And right now, like 94% of those voting, 94% of the shares that are counted are indicating that they want to see us move to base. So we're going to kind of move forward with that thought in mind and that expectation that that's what we're going to start exploring and developing and pursuing. So welcome, Big Bear. I appreciate you joining me always, CC.
Good to be here.
I put this together so we could kind of go snappy through it. Hopefully within a half an hour, we have all this information out. That way, when people come back and watch this, they know, hey, this is only like 30, 40 minutes long. So I can get through this comfortably and get caught up on with what's happening. So, but both of you, if you have any comments you want to make as we're going through this, feel free to just step in. One of the things I wanted to kind of mention is as I'm drafting these up and as I'm articulating some of the things that we're working on, words matter. And in this presentation, and also I want to mention below are in the description, there's links to this slideshow. There's links to the DAO vote. There's links to our previous Medium or to all of our Medium articles. So in the description of this video right now, as we are launching this, those links are already there. So as we go through these things, just keep in mind everything that has been put into context has been thought out really carefully. So when we're saying building the future through the Axion DAO, doing DeFi better together, this is how I want people to see what we're doing, feel what we're doing, and actually as we execute this, the proof's in the pudding. People don't always care what you say; they care what you do. So you can say one thing and do another. Happens every day. It's actually doing what you say that matters. But that's why we have this DAO vote. That's why we're migrating the community to this mindset of being a DAO and voting on these things. So I wanted to real quick. I'm going to digress just for a second. I do have some links in our thing. I've been, as you know, I've got my weekly space. I'm not being paid to say this, by the way, but this is a coloring book I picked up on Amazon. I got links down in our description. This is one of the creators I've been working with. She's amazing. Was really behind everything we did with F Cancer. I think we've raised well over $10,000 now over the last 3 years, close to 12, 11, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to misspeak. I know Dave's watching, so welcome to everybody who's hanging out with us today. Thanks for joining us. So, but yeah, really, it's really a fun little coloring book. My daughter loves it. She's 15, by the way. So, and I got a bunch that I'm gonna hand out for trick-or-treaters. But anyway, let's get back on track here. So, I wanted to speak to something really quick to kind of set the stage for why I'm doing this, why I've been doing this for the, on behalf of the community for the last 2 years. It really kind of feeds into a lot of my previous experience, attending conferences, doing workshops, um, teaching marketing, content marketing, and uh, and there's a lot of things that I've done in the past that I feel have led up to me being able to do this. I was mentioning to Big Bear earlier. Uh, I started working when I was 12. I had a paper route. I babysat. Um, I was I was a mini entrepreneur
Same.
at 12. Um, by the time I was 16, I started my first business. And it's really been that kind of ever since. Um, and so while I've only been in DeFi for the last 3 years, I turned 60 next year. Believe it or not, I don't feel 60. I don't think I look 60. I'm actually kind of proud of that. I've always been a kid at heart, but I do. I turn 60 next year. I've only been in DeFi for about three and a half years. So up until I was 55, I did other stuff and built and sold at least a half a dozen businesses. And I probably failed at a dozen more. So, but that's just the nature of entrepreneurialism. So, we don't look at those as failures. We look at those as opportunities to learn and to not make the same mistakes again. So, so I'm really drawing upon 43 years of experience running businesses, creating businesses where there weren't businesses, and launching ideas. So I've been really, up until recently, I'll be honest with you, I've been on autopilot with the project, just kind of a caretaker, making sure that, we're not getting scammers in our Discord, which we still are. In fact, I'm looking, I think probably my next order of operation is going to be meeting with the SIVA team and cleaning up our Discord and making sure that it's way harder for people to come in and post garbage. Same thing on Telegram. I've become pretty much a Discord expert, but there are certain things that I still have not learned. So, we are still impacted by scammers. So, don't get excited. If you think you see us posting an airdrop, I promise you, unless it's freaking in our announcement thread and on our website, we're not doing an airdrop, period. Okay. So
I deleted about five this week, I reckon, on Telegram.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I have my notifications set so that certain types of posts actually sound different in my alerts on my phone. And so the minute anybody posts a link in our Telegram, I get a notification. It doesn't matter what the link is. So, yeah, it's exhausting. It's kind of boring, but it's just one of those things you got to do. But yeah, so we're seeing it too much, and I don't see it as much on other threads, but I also don't pay attention to a whole lot of other threads right now. But this is really that epic question that we've been asked over and over for the last 2 years: is Axion dead? No. I think I'm going to keep this as a topic every time we have one of these. Is Axion dead is going to be one of our bullet points. But we're approaching our 4-year anniversary. We're moving into our 5th year as a project. So I think the timing is actually really good for us to be looking at what we're doing. So far, we've had 60 votes in the DAO on this current vote, and I would like to see that be 600. But we'll get there. I think as each vote is presented, I'm sure we're going to see more and more engagement over time. So it looks like I'm heading south. I'm going to be hopping on a plane, going to hang out with Delhi for a day and a half. And we're going to be really kind of digging into the nuts and bolts of how we're going to structure the announcements, how we're going to structure the votes. And it's really important, and I'll address this again, but moving forward, before a vote goes to the DAO for the community to review, we will have vetted it to make sure we can execute it. Then we will go to the mastermind council to get their feedback, answer their questions, get their suggestions. We may tweak, which will probably result in tweaking things a little bit, so that when we go to present it as a vote, we're confident that we're covering all the bases, that we're explaining things well, that and everybody understands what the result of this vote is going to mean. So that's something that's going to be really important to me as we move forward. I was telling Big Bear, this is right before we started. If I ever have to defend my actions or defend what Axion does or what we're doing, if I'm ever called to professionally or legally defend this, I want to make sure that everything is documented, everything is laid out, and that there's a reason and an outcome, a positive outcome to everything that we're doing moving forward. So in this presenting the Axion roadmap draft, these are the 4 steps that we're going through to get us to, as we develop this process for us moving to base, what it's going to look like. So our first step was establishing the Axion DAO. Second is going to be evaluating the Axion ecosystem, which is what we're doing right now. Here in the coming weeks, we're going to be reviewing the results of this DAO vote. And I've got each one of these is going to be a slide that we're going to talk about. And then we'll talk a little bit about moving forward in our next steps. First thing, establishing the Axion DAO. A social enterprise in the making. I don't know if you've ever heard of the term social enterprise. It's common here in the US. I can't remember what they call it in the UK. Dave, type out what they call it in the UK and I'll post it here. I'm waiting, but okay. So, but a social enterprise is an organization that prioritizes social, environmental, or humanitarian goals over profit. That doesn't mean that we don't want to profit or don't need to profit. It's just that those goals have to be met before we worry about profit. Social enterprises are managed in an open and responsible way, and their profits are primarily reinvested to achieve their social objectives. That of being growing out the Axion ecosystem. So this is really kind of the mindset that I'm moving forward with. And we want to keep this, I want to see Axion be kind of a litmus test for DeFi. And once it's set up, once it's going, it can run without any human intervention. That's one of my biggest goals. There'll be things that we're doing, things that we're pursuing, but the contracts themselves and the ecosystem itself will be set, and then it'll go. So here's some of the steps that we're following right now for establishing the Axion DAO. Lost Big Bear. Hang on. Here, he's back. Oh, that was weird.
Yeah, just glitched out.
So getting the voting UI up and running was, first and foremost. I do want to give some serious kudos to Delhi for helping, for working with me on this to get that done. He was, I really do enjoy working with Delhi. We don't always see things exactly the same, but he's patient. He's thorough. He explains what he doesn't like and what he likes, and we figure things out and we move forward. And I really appreciate, and I'll say this right now, Deli, if you're watching, whether it's now or later, I appreciate it when when you're patient with me, because I know I can be a nitpicker, and I know you don't like that. So appreciate it. I really do enjoy working with Deli. So okay. Dave says it's a community interest company. So in the UK, that's kind of what they call it. And here in the US, we call it a social enterprise. Thank you, Dave. So holding our first vote, that's in process. One of the things that's going to be critical is developing some bylaws. Bylaws are the rules that are set forth for how the DAO is managed, what the function of the DAO is, what the process is of removing someone who's leading the DAO and replacing them with someone new to lead the DAO. It sets the amount of time someone can be in a leadership position in the DAO. And so all of these things need to be articulated so that when people actually sign up and participate, they know what to expect. They know how it works. And we're going to open these bylaws up for discussion, and then we're going to vote on. We're going to establish the membership terms and conditions, how to qualify to be a member of the DAO. We're going to be presenting various options, including whether we measure it through staking, NFTs, dues. Yeah, dues. Who knows? If the DAO was to grow big enough, there eventually would need to be dues in order to pay for administrative assistance. Timeline caveat. I wrote this late last night. I think I wrote that because as you can see with this recent vote, our first vote, it's almost been a month. Can you believe that, guys? It's almost been a month since we lost the first vote. So we don't want this process to take a year. So here in the near future, you're going to start to see votes coming out pretty often. There might be some votes that we'll need to get the decision on that before we vote on other things, but there will be several channels that we can be moving forward through. So, and the idea, even if we change nothing when we move to base, I still want that ratified by the community. And then if there are things we want to change, if there are things that we think will improve our opportunities or the leverage we have, the voice that we have in DeFi, I want those to be ratified as well. So it doesn't matter whether we remain exactly the same or not. All of these elements I want to see ratified by the community. I clicked. So we're going to need to create a white paper, knowledge-based documentation. Clearly articulated documentation is going to be required for us to effectively move forward. And I'm prepared to start doing that based on the results of these votes and based on what we're looking to accomplish. I'm going to skim over this just a little bit. When we do the launch video, and I created that video almost 2 years ago. It needs to be updated, and pretty soon I think it will be updated. I do have this desire to maintain this structure that we once kind of conformed to with launches and being a launch pad. I don't see us launching anything anytime soon, but I'm gonna be proposing and introducing what we call investment clubs. Here in the US, if you're in an investment club, you can participate in registered fundraising as a VC, not individually, but collectively as a club. So your club can participate in a registered VC level fundraise that gets rewards, and it will pass the Howey test. So as we move forward, I'm going to be introducing these concepts for the Axion investment clubs. They will be a part of the DAO, not a function of the DAO. But for the investment clubs, each investment club will have a vesting contract. There'll be club management and there'll be bylaws. So as we develop these, each new investment club will adopt these terms and conditions, these bylaws. And that's not going to happen before we move to base. But I wanted it in here so people can see the long vision of where we're going to head at some point. So again, there's going to be more that comes out over time. But for the sake of time and clarity, we want to just focus on what we're doing now as we prepare to move to base, guys. Sounds weird saying that. So future development. I would like to see Axion, the communities, the DAO, participating in DeFi security. Maybe start building a little DeFi university, place where people can come learn about DeFi the right way and protect themselves moving forward. The biggest things I don't want, with all of this stuff that's been going on as we move and as I don't want to see Axion become a playground for bad actors. So we're going to see people try to front run the launch on base. So we're going to be really pragmatic, really careful, and we're going to make sure that we are communicating accurately so that you know what is safe to do and what is not safe to do. Any comments or thoughts on any of this, guys? Like I said, I want to kind of move through this just so we get everybody on the same page. But if you have any thoughts, questions, you're welcome to pipe in.
No, I mean, I like the idea with regards to the investment clubs. It maintains the old structure of a launch pad, but it's not a launch pad, and it gives it like you said, in the United States, there's regulatory framework in place that supports the ability for Axion to be able to take that direction. And all it does is it provides potential future opportunity for every single person that's already involved in the ecosystem already. So I like that. It'd be interesting to see how that develops.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it develops too. Okay, so one of the critical issues that we obviously have to go through, but I'm gonna pay homage to it because I think it's important that people know that we are methodically going through everything and looking at what we like, what we don't like, what works, what doesn't work, what we thought was going to be a big deal, but it's really not a big deal anymore. We're going to be looking at these things. And those things are going to go for vote, for ratification. We're going to be looking at the accelerator. We're going to be looking at, do we bring the accelerator over perfectly as is, or do we make some tweaks that are going to improve that process? We can do that because we're moving to a different network. I wouldn't do that. Honestly, guys, if we were staying on Polygon, it is what it is as far as I'm concerned. The fact that we're moving to base, we can look at these things, and now everybody in the community can be a part of picking and choosing what we want to do and how we want to do it, and what it's going to look like. So we're going to be looking at the max mint status. I think right now would have to actually look. How much have we minted of the 150 billion? Let's see if I can pull that up. Looks like we've minted 54 billion of the 150 billion that we had set as a max mint in the accelerator. And it's been almost 2 years. Everybody was afraid that the accelerator was going to be gone in a year. It's been 2 years and we're only a third of the way through it. So
not during a bear market, it wouldn't be. But
I know, right?
things are changing. The tides are turning.
So we're going to be looking at market caps, how we manage market cap moving forward, and inflation and stuff like that, which is really, what we really need to look at the state of our inflation, and if in moving to base, can we mitigate that or eliminate it? So, oh, come on. So other things we're going to be voting on, discussing, proposing will be centered on our Bitcoin rewards. I'm going to tell you right now, guys, if I was pulled into court today and left to defend the whole ecosystem, I don't think under the current administration and the current environment, we wouldn't pass the Howey test. So we need to look at, when we move to base, how can we mitigate that? How can we navigate that in a way that's defendable? So we'll be looking at that, looking at other ways to benefit stakers. We're going to be looking at whether we keep the collider or not. These are all simple things, but like I said, these are things I want to see the community ratify or not. So we got current state of liquidity. Our liquidity is really low. We do have some pretty significant proposals to make to change that when we move to base. And we'll be looking at exploring ways to attract more community holders to participate in our liquidity. We're going to be looking at our NFT collections. Do we keep them on Polygon and measure them across chain, or do we actually create new collection? All of these things. And this is kind of some of these nuts and bolts, some of the tokenomics, the contracts, etc. This is why I'm going to be traveling down to hang out with Delhi for a couple of days, so we can really dig in and understand what's possible, what's not possible, and what makes sense in certain aspects. So we're going to be looking at the overall tokenomics of the project, and we're going to be doing this transparently in the DAO, and everything will be laid out, articulated, and presented for the community to vote on. So now we're at this. We're here shortly. We're going to be reviewing the results of the DAO. We already kind of know where it's heading, but there's actually more to it than just saying, okay, well, we're moving to base. So the initial DAO vote is almost complete. Based on sentiment in our first DAO vote, it's pretty safe to say we will be exploring and developing a process for moving Axion to the base network. While the vote has not yet ended, support for migrating is strong. 94% right now is where we're at. Development and articulation of this process is going to require a lot of voting, and each step will take time to prepare and execute. As we define what the process will look like, we will launch as we're defining this process, once we've kind of come to, what the initial, so even though we're going to have a lot of voting, the results of this vote are going to be a catalyst for what we are focused on moving forward. And we're not going to dilly-dally on this. I'm actually thinking of proposing this 90 days to base. While it would be nice to think that we could do it faster, and we probably could do it faster, I think we need to take a little time to build this out, do it together while processing the votes. I just think, giving us a nice spread, 90 days, would be, but maybe we can do it in 60. But I want to be careful that that we don't make a promise and then something changes and it affects how quickly things can be done. Because ultimately, once these things are decided, it's going to be on Delhi's shoulders to help us make this happen. So, and I'll be working really close with him on that and helping him where I can. I actually did coding a long time ago. I can read a lot what he does, and I've actually participated with him on a few things as we were figuring out how to make things work. And so it's so far, I mean, I don't want to speak for Delhi, but it's been a good process working with him directly on that. So
that's actually a really an asset that you have, because I know that I have had experiences with very, very, very good coders, very good developers, Solidity developers, and in aspirations of maybe launching my own DeFi project. And boy, I'll tell you, they sure know how to humble you real quick, because you can have the most fantastic ideas in the world, but if they can't put it into code
exactly
and run it, it ain't gonna work. And it's just like, but just do this, and they're like, yeah, that sounds great, but no. Not, it's like my head hanging, walking back to the corner. It's like, oh, okay. It's
and that's ultimately, and that's the other reason I'm heading down there, because there, I do have some ideas and some thoughts, and that ultimately may not be possible. So, but sitting down and really hammering out, okay, well, it won't work this way. Is there a way it will work? Is there a way we can make these things happen? Maybe not the way I'm thinking or I want them to happen, but are there ways of making this happen other than what I've suggested? So those are the things we'll be looking at. Appreciate that. So looks like we've got about 60 votes, which is, I'm really actually happy to see it even at 60, because when it was going to end a couple of weeks ago, we had only had like 32, 34 or something. I can't remember, 36. I don't remember. We had just a handful of votes. And now we've almost doubled it in half the time, and we still have about 6-7 days left. So
back in the days, how high did we get up to with some of the votes that were happening?
Didn't
we get up to like 300 or something like that?
Possibly. I would have to go back and look. I do have access to those data points, but I haven't looked at them in a long time. But yeah, I mean, and maybe by the time we're done, that's where we'll be at, right? That would be awesome.
That would be nice, yeah.
The more we can get people following what we're doing, and participating in what we're doing. Sorry, CC, I saw you just dropped. The more we can do that, I lost my train of thought. Sorry. The better. Yeah. The more people we can have participating in this voting process, the better, because it just adds to the narrative of the story. We were talking earlier about stories, and, we're 4 years into our story. And whether we like it or not, people are going to tell this story. Whether it's a good story or a bad story, we are still all players in a story that I would like to see have a very positive, a very rewarding outcome. And the more participation we have in building that story, the more of an impact that story is going to have as we continue to move forward. So that's going to be our goal. This is kind of the last slide. So I'm going to touch on these points, and then we can just kind of see where the conversation takes us. Again, I kind of wanted to keep it short, but I also want to give some time to have a little dialogue. So let me run through this real quick, and then if there's anything you guys want to, any questions off the cuff, unscripted, that you guys have, I've been hammering these things out in the background now for quite some time. So I know I can answer pretty much any question from my perspective, not necessarily saying this is how it is or this is what we're going to do, but for what that's worth. So, but our DAO votes, voting in the DAO is critical. It all boils down to how we participate in the DAO. I'm going to be repeating myself now. This is the one thing I appreciate. We have a lot of amazing thought leaders that, yourself, Big Bear, Mike, Natsurimju, CC, Fix, Deli, Dead Poet. And just so you guys know, I'm still working with Dead Poet in the background. He's been really ill. He's not doing well. And I talked to him on voice. This is not just him typing out that he's not well. I can hear it. He's not well. I hope he's getting better, but he's had a lot of crap going on. And but you guys want to see this? This is my. Oops, I answered. I have a little red phone. It's like my bat phone.
The bat phone, nice.
That was probably a call to the Independent, and I didn't mean to pick it up and hang it up, but that's what happened. Anyway, letting myself get distracted again. What was I saying, Big Bear? Oh, we have a lot of amazing thought leaders that are helping contribute to this narrative in this process. And I think we have a lot more I'd like to see come back in. Jubbin, we've been communicating. We haven't really connected in a little while, but we've been communicating. He's following everything we're doing. The biggest hurdle we're going to have in really getting a team back up and running is being able to compensate people for the work that they're doing. So that's going to be part of this voting process, is how do we navigate that? What are some options we might have? So not to get too far off on a tangent that will come later down the line, but those are the things that we will be looking at. As we move forward, our next set of proposals, you'll have an opportunity to make your voice heard. We, meaning the team, will not be the only architects behind every proposal. Many of the suggestions presented have or will come directly from comments or suggestions we've heard within the community over the last couple of years. And then I'm going to be creating here, I should have it up early next week. I want to create a proposal form. Anyone from the community will be able to submit a proposal, but you're going to need to do some work. You're going to have to fill out every field that we put in this form for your suggestion. I don't want to have to Google what you're talking about. I don't want to have to do the research to even find out what you're talking about means. So there's going to be some legwork that you're going to have to do in order to submit a proposal. But once you get to the end and you're able to actually click submit, then it will be viewable. We're going to make it so they're viewable publicly. The team will determine whether or not it's executable. Proposals will go before the Mastermind Council. Mastermind Council must approve all proposals that will be published moving forward. So all proposals moving forward will be ratified by the Mastermind Council. Even if it's coming from me, I want the Mastermind Council to ratify it. If it makes sense, we move forward. If it doesn't make sense, then we take another look at it. And we are looking to add to the Mastermind Council. I'd like to at least add 3, 4, 5 more people, but we're going to be so we'll probably start that process again next week as well. So there you have it, man. That's the draft version, and there is a link to it in the description. So if you want to go back through this presentation and read it, If you have any questions, then you can ask questions directly related to the draft. Yeah, we think. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome stuff. If we move to base, James, you say that you know it more or less everything. Are we going to look at integrating the smart wallet as well for a bit of easier onboarding? Have we got that far with that yet?
Not sure. No, we haven't gotten that far. So those are things that we that we would want submitted. Is the smart wallet a different wallet? I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, so basically Coinbase's smart wallet. So you don't need like the 12 seed phrase what you get with MetaMask and stuff like that. So the way I believe it works is you can actually use a debit or credit card as well. So it's really super fast onboarding. I've not played around with it myself at the moment, but Base is like literally instantaneous. So if you buy, say, I don't know, USDC, and you send that to MetaMask from Coinbase, it's literally there.
Right.
As soon as you send it, it's super fast, and it's free to send it as well. So, but for Axion, yeah, it's going to be awesome. To be honest, easier onboarding. If we can
integrate that into something, whether we integrate it into like a bond project or the accelerator or whatever we're doing, whatever we look like when we actually launch, that would be awesome. I remember hearing about that as you were talking about it. And that was one of the big reasons I loved the idea of moving to Base as well, was that relationship that, with Coinbase, and I can only imagine that the architects of the Base network, regardless of their response level, will be looking at, just about every project that launches, and we are going to be reaching out to specific individuals on the Base. I haven't reached out to some of my contacts yet, specifically because the vote hasn't finished, and I didn't want to get ahead of the vote, even though now that looks like it's going to happen. I mean, now I can safely start making those calls and start making those connections. So, so yeah, that would be awesome. It would be really nice to improve the process for onboarding. I am going to look through our comments really quick to see if there's any questions. If anybody has any questions over here. A comment. Alex, thanks. Appreciate the good energy. Let's see. No. Can't make everybody happy. Somebody's staked 80,000 2 years ago and has no value. Here's what I'm going to say to this. Oh, wrong. Yeah, a lot of people have staked. In the very beginning, a lot of people staked including Big Bear, who's here with us today. He's staked, had, I don't know if it's fair to say, if you want me to even say it, but I think your portfolio was millions at one point. Or close to.
I cannot confirm or deny that.
And that's fair. But yeah, so let's
just say the stakes are worth a fraction of what they were once worth when I made them.
So
but that goes for anybody that's staked into the ecosystem.
Yeah. Well, and that goes pretty much for every other DeFi staking protocol that is out there. Right.
This bear market was brutal.
Right.
Virtually no project was spared. You can look at every chart almost, and they're pretty much all identical.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess delayed gratification. You know, some people freaked out and emergency end staked and took the hit. Other people just riding it out. You know, these markets move in cycles, and although they're not always identical, but they do rhyme quite a bit. So, you know, I used to be very focused on short-term charts and short-term price movements, and I was so glad the day I finally woke up and, you know, the age-old term, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. And when you look at the bigger picture, the wider picture, you start to recognize patterns. And you know, like I said in the last live stream, this you know, we're in a finicky election cycle right now in the U.S., and that's dictating a lot of what's going on in traditional markets, which butterfly ripple effects over into crypto. And depending on the next administration, we're either going to have a pro-crypto admin or we're going to have an anti-crypto admin, and that's going to affect a lot of things. So,
well,
you know,
Gary Gensler just got a new one ripped.
Yeah, Tom Emmer, is it Tom Emmer? He I think it's Emmer. He's either the senator or the Congress, or the representative. Tom Emmer, yeah. He raked him over the coals pretty good in the hearing. So.
Oh, and then afterwards he did a little speech and basically called him a crook.
Strong words.
He's lying. He's done nothing to help the financial markets, and there's a big move now to get Gensler out. So
yeah.
I mean imagine someone like Tom Emery. Can you imagine someone like Tom Emery leading the SEC? Things would be very different today.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, it's not. In order to get rid of blockchain technology, they literally have to scuttle the entire internet around the world. And I mean, if the U.S. wants to continue to stifle it, eventually the rest of the world will embrace it and move forward anyways. There will always be jurisdictions around the world that, you know, sovereign states and countries that will embrace the technology and move forward with it, and they'll attract all the people. They'll attract everybody that wants to be involved in it. They'll just go elsewhere, you know. So.
Well, the one thing I'll add here real quick, Carlos specifically, we're here. We're still here.
Yeah.
Community has stepped up. We have some amazing things that we're going to be proposing on the horizon. And, you know, once we get through this process, if everything turns out 60% of what I'm thinking, what I would like to see happen. You know, earlier I was talking about, you know, we're telling a story. We're either going to be telling a success story, a failure story, or we might just be telling a story that absolutely no one is expecting. And that's kind of my goal, is to tell a story that no one's expecting. So hang in there, Carlos. Keep following everything. Unless your stakes expired and you never withdrew them, then
well, that's a different story. If they got penalized to zero.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm assuming they're maybe 15-year stakes. So we'll see. But gosh, anything else, guys? We're going a little bit longer. We got the bulk of the information out in a timely manner. I can say that. So
yeah, I mean, my parting comment would be this. You know, back in 2021, when, you know, everybody was sipping champagne and eating caviar and dancing in the streets because Axion was doing so well. You know, when we were up there topping that 0007 price, and everybody's portfolio was robust and everybody was happy. My comments that I made on live streams back then, and I'll reiterate them again now, is I want everybody to do well. This, you know, everybody deserves to everybody deserves to have nice things. I know that sounds so cliche, but and I think this ecosystem has the ability to provide that, and offer the opportunity for people to have nice things. Has it been a tumultuous, turbulent road? Yeah, of course it has. You know, the beginning was awfully turbulent. The middle was turbulent, and we haven't reached the end yet. So, you know, there's a lot of good things going on with the ecosystem. There's a lot of potential changes that could be very, very exciting. And like you said, Metal, there are a lot of good thought leaders in the community, and we need every one of them to step up and start talking and start suggesting and start proposing, because, you know, 3 or 4 people in a room aren't going to come up with every possible idea that's out there. So as a collective community, we all need to step up and throw our hat in the ring, because the best idea could come from the least expected person. And, you know, I haven't got all the ideas. You don't have all the ideas. CC doesn't have all the ideas fixed, you know, down the list. But there are people out there that have some fantastic ideas, that think in different ways than we don't think. And I'm just excited. I'm just excited to see how this evolves from here, and really start seeing some of the conversations that are going to come forward, because, you know, that's when it's going to get exciting. Somebody's going to suggest something that I'm going to see. And then I'm going to start thinking about, like, oh, that's a really good idea. And then it just starts to evolve from there, right?
Yeah. And doing this through this process of voting in the DAO, I think it's critical to have that engagement, have that participation. I mean, not everybody, 20%, I think, of the votes, not 20% of the shares, but 20% of the people voting are voting to stay on Polygon. So not everybody thinks that, you know, this is going to mean much, and that's okay. It's good to have, to me, it's healthy. It's healthy to really gauge what overall sentiment is. That way, as things happen, everybody knows, hey, guys, we voted on this. That someone goes, I don't like this. Why did we do this? I want the community to go, dude, we voted on that. So it was voted on. Sorry you weren't here. But hopefully, and maybe they voted against it. That's okay. But just because a very small collective group doesn't see the value in it, doesn't mean that the greater community sees that value. So that's really ultimately what I'm looking. I mean, this is, I don't want this to come across wrong. I'm not looking at this as a social experiment, but in a lot of respects, it is kind of a social experiment. So, and hopefully we're doing it right. That's ultimately, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. So hopefully we're doing it right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, literally every crypto project ever proposed, coded and put to live on the blockchain is an experiment. I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah.
This is the transition into new money.
It's one big freaking test net.
Basically, yeah.
So we're approaching. We got a couple of minutes left here. I do want to hit my 1 hour mark. But CC, you have any parting thoughts? Anything you'd like to share or contribute? Then please do. Appreciate you coming on and just hanging out with us.
Yeah, that's no problem. Yeah, thanks for having us on. I'd just like to sort of touch base on what Big Bear was saying. That if you remember back, I remember it clearly. Actually, I was in Germany at the time when Axion went up about 300%. We done like a weekend bender there, and it was October 2021. Now, if anyone remembers, back in that time, that's when we done the shift to Polygon. Yeah. So, not saying it is, guys, and obviously not financial advice, but moving to base, I see us that we're going to have a potential of new investors, what I call the meme boys that live on base. I'm not sure if Axion would be the first certificate of deposit type platform on base. I've not checked that out. But for sure, we've got 4 years behind us. We've been through bear markets. And when I do videos on Axion, I always just say Axion does Axion, guys. I mean, look in the last week, it's gone up 130%, you know. Axion just does Axion. So touching base on what Carlos said, sorry to hear that, Carlos. We're all in that same sort of boat. I put lots in, the same as Big Bear way back in the beginning. Markets, no one can time them at the end of the day. All I look at the moment in my investing strategy is I've been DCAing probably for the last 2 months, even still buying Axion. Yeah, so basically, that's my only suggestion to you, to basically bring your dollar cost average down. So if you're talking 80,000, obviously if you still have funds, perhaps bring your dollar cost average down. So when Axion does go up, it hasn't got to reach that point where you know, 100x or whatever for you to break even. It might end up being 50x or something like that. So DCA, in my opinion, is very important, guys. This is my 3rd bull run. I've been in crypto since late 2017, I think it was. No, mid 2017, because then we had the roundabout this time, Bitcoin going up, and then in January 2018 is when it hit the 20k mark. So I've got a feeling I know we've got the ETFs and a lot's changed since then, but it feels like the same sort of pattern to me is happening. I don't want to burst a bubble on it, but to me it feels like a similar sort of pattern. And I agree, presidential elections is going to play an important part. But yeah, I think the next 3-4 months, guys, are going to be very, very exciting in crypto. And don't sit on the sidelines. You know, a little bit of cash, even $5, $10. You know, it's get your positions in. I would say now. Yeah, that's it.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you guys joining me today. So got some things to do. We're gonna get we'll get the mastermind council together. We'll start talking about what the next vote's going to be that we're going to be presenting. The current vote ends, I think, Monday, and then the following week I'm going down to hang out with Delhi for a couple of days. So there might be a little quiet time. I am going to get the form up and running. I am going to probably try to use this time to connect with the team at Siva, see if we can get all of that up and running. I do want to shore up our security on our teller, especially as things start to heat up and activity starts to increase. It's really exhausting to have to worry about, you know, waking up first thing in the morning and trying to find out, you know, is there any scam posts I need to delete? So being able to mitigate that is going to be critical. So, but we've reached our time. Appreciate you guys joining us. See, I mean, Big Bear and I always have these short conversations.
Very short. Yes, very short.
They start out as 20-minute conversations, and 2.5 hours, 3 hours later, we're like, hey, guy, I got to go, dude. But hey, it's been good. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. Hopefully everybody share this. I mean, on your own socials, you know, share your thoughts on what you heard today. Go in the Discord, drop a comment, whatever it is, negative, positive. Just don't do personal attacks, guys. Personal attacks, I don't really have a whole lot of patience left for those. So when people come in and start ragging hard and throwing accusations out, it doesn't jive with what we're trying. It just doesn't jive with the environment we're trying to create here. So you can have something, you can have a concern and a question, and you can not like something and still be polite when you tell people you don't like it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, having that etiquette is critical, especially with what we're trying to do. If you come in with a blowtorch and you're just throwing around negative comments, don't think you're going to last in our server much longer. If you have genuine questions, genuine concerns, I promise you, look in our questions and concerns thread. I address those things. We always, I'm not afraid of those questions. But I'm just not going to put up with negative BS, people flaming, and we used to call them flamers back in the day. Do you remember that term, flamers?
Yes.
We need to bring that term back. You know, if you're going to come in and just be a flamer, we're going to blow you out. So anyway, thanks guys. It's time to update our videos, but I love these videos. So I'm going to close this out just like we always close out, and we'll catch you on Discord.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, Metal.
All right,
cheers,
guys.
CC.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you. Yeah, take care, Big Bear. Metal.
All right, cheers.
Bye.